Hello once again. We meet again. Uh, Today, the subject I would like to speak to you about is Islamic leaders declare war on Islam. Uh, we all heard of the Arabic Spring or the Arab Spring when it started 2011, and some some countries have switched their leaders, but the system remained. They fooled the people. Some actually, I don't think we should really call it Arab Spring. It's a failure. It's a failure. There was just some, you took one dictator and replace him by another dictator. That's the fact of the matter, is the same. However, the country that it really spread fascism and dictatorship is the country of Saudi Arabia. And this country is the cradle of Islam. In my opinion, it is the country of all the evil that it's in the Middle East. All the dictatorship and all the evil that we see originated from the ideology of Islam. And the ideology of Islam started in Mecca by Muhammad. Mecca is in Saudi Arabia, for those who don't know. And this is really the country now that it is taking the proper lead in reforming the Middle East. And even though it is not direct, the Prince of Saudi, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, he is not directly declaring war on Islam, but indirectly, he has already declared war to destroy this ideology. He doesn't need to say it verbally, but his action suggests so. And he knows that his life is in danger, and therefore he does not trust to have Saudi team as his security, because he knows very well they can be bought. Many of these Saudis, they are sympathizers with Muslim clerics, and they will be willing, not even without offering, actually they would do it even without offering them any money, because they feel they are doing something righteous. And that's why the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, his security team is an American company, an American security people. So this is huge. When you really take a step back and reflect on that, this is huge news. This is huge. They are uprooting the very roots of Islam. They are not dealing with the branches. They are not dealing with the trunk. They are uprooting Islam from the very root. So even though the branches and the rest of the tree, the branches and the leaves look still green, if the root is lifted from its place, It's a matter of time for the branches, for the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. Of course, the leaves will fall first, they will dry up first, the branches next, and then the trunk. Because there is no nourishment to keep this evil tree standing. This is what's happening. It is actually, in my opinion, this is very big. I'm really happy. I really have to say it. I'm happy that this man removed the other family that was in charge. It was called Al Saud, and he took over. There's a lot of difference, a whole lot of difference. The Middle East is on the way to become a better place. We spoke about the crown prince. We spoke before about the crown prince said it clearly that the Israelis have the right to live on their land, and it's plain. It is plain. Their land is not on the moon or on Mars. Their land where they are now. That means Israel. Israel. Because the Muslim clerks, Muslim leaders, for so many years, they didn't have to give proof. They just say it belongs to the Palestinian, and that's it. Yet he recognized that the Jews have lived in this land even before the coming of Islam. Otherwise, he will not stick his neck and his head in some areas that it will not do him any good. But he knows that this was a political agenda, using Islam as an ideology to keep pushing to get rid of the Jews in this area. I'm not defending the Jews. I'm not defending the Christian. I'm not defending the Muslim. I'm just saying what was going on. Okay, historically, we read that the Jewish people they were in this region. Okay, so it's stupid to deny history. Whether they're, let's say, the same Jewish people became Christian or Muslim, they still have the right to live in this region. Doesn't matter what religion they may be, they still have the right to stay on their land. And this man, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, publicly announced that this has a lot of effect. This has a lot of weight to come from the person who is representing Islam. He is actually the official head of Islam. He is representing Muhammad, but he is like, in a way, Muhammad who is aware. He is not making decision to benefit himself, whether financially or sexually. All of Muhammad's decisions and fatwas was to keep his people busy, not to look into his affair, marrying this little girl, marrying his daughter-in-law, marrying whoever woman she comes and offer herself to him, one night stand. But the Muslim cannot do that, but God gave him a special permission to have one night stand with other women. So that's very interesting. From that very region where Muhammad was he managed, where Muhammad managed to control the heads of the people there, and they spread into the whole region from the very same place. The destruction of this ideology have already started. Few other things have happened also in Saudi Arabia that are worthy of mentioning. One of them is Saudi Arabia decided to open an opera house. For many people, this is, well, what's the big news? What's the fuss? No, this is a very big thing in Saudi Arabia, since music and dancing is considered sin. So already we spoke before about opening movie theaters, and that's also a sin. Letting women drive, letting women go to a stadium, sports stadium, to watch football and so on, or soccer, all that is forbidden in Islam. So in a way, he is swimming against the current. And so many things are happening so quickly that if you are aware of the culture and if you are aware of what's going on in this region, this is big. Okay, to open an opera house for people to listen to music which was considered sin. We spoke also about the jazz music that already started. Concerts took place, and a week of fashion show in Saudi Arabia. This is all big. Furthermore, in the city of Jeddah, there was an organization of having an event of 30 women competing riding bicycle. To many people in Europe or in America or in the rest of the world, so what? What's the big deal? No, that is a big deal in this region. And it was not actually 30. They allowed, they planned to have 30 women, but huge number of people went to the place to compete. It's not really a competition, it's just they want to break that stagnant way of thinking that woman has to stay home, and if she goes out, somebody has to be also watching her, like somebody's going to steal her, rape her, and throw her someplace. Of course, Muhammad left that kind of sick thinking in their heads. They could do that. Some, not all. They could do that. Their heads, those who are following the true teaching of Muhammad, their head is always in sex. So yes, they could do that. But anyway, the plan was 30 women. A huge number of people came, women came. They could contain only 47 instead of 30, and they had to turn the rest away. This is huge, okay, to see that. The last thing, which was a while ago and I didn't want to talk about it, is the Crown Prince of Qatar. He was, last June 2017, he was called a financier of terrorism, which was true, probably still is. It's a very, very small country, and they have the largest natural gas reserve in the world, and they have a lot of oil too. And with all these resources, the guy is like he doesn't know what to do with all this wealth. So he wants to appear on the stage he is the one who established Al Jazeera newspaper and news network. And he bought his way to get the Olympics, I think 2020, to be there in Qatar. And I compare it is like a small apartment, and you won't have a party of 200 people in a small apartment. It's a very small country. Why are you bringing the whole world to Qatar? No, but he wants to be on the world stage, that he is an influential world leader. Okay. Anyway, he was called that he's a financier of terrorism about a year ago, June of 2017, and now I think what happened, because I don't know the detail, he came to Washington DC on April 11th, and he met with President Trump. I think because there was an embargo on, still there is, on Qatar, since they were financing terrorism. Many countries under the leadership of the United States, they put embargo on Qatar, so that affected them greatly. I think what happened is his advisors advised the Prince of Qatar to rethink, because that will be their demise with all this natural gas and all the oil. If nobody is buying from them, they will return to their old life as Bedouin. Each one has 2, 3 camels and few sheep. So he came to Washington DC, and President Trump met him in the White House, and they started to polish apple to each other. So President Trump, he said he's no longer he no longer financed terrorism, and he's a friend now. And Prince of Qatar said President Trump is a good man and he's a friend. So it seems to be like the wheel of change started in Saudi Arabia, and it is moving in the Gulf region first, as it moved during the life of Muhammad, when Muhammad was starting his Islamic stuff. As it started in this region, from Mecca to Medina to the rest of Arabia, the real true Arab Spring now, in my opinion, started in Saudi Arabia, the foothold of Muhammad, the birthplace of Muhammad, and the birthplace of this ideology of Islam. Reformation is coming there now, and it's spreading to the rest of Arabia first, and it will move on, north, south. Already Yemen is unstable, Iran, it will move in all directions. The end of this Islamic evil ideology is near. Thank you very much. We'll see you again in another video.